So our next assignment is something that's a little bit more in line with an actual, like, bigger job you would get at a studio or any place that you work doing After Effects. It's more of like storytelling type stuff, more like instructional stuff. So what we're going to be doing is explaining color theory in a video, okay? So this is where we're using all the tricks that we've learned from our page transitions, from our blips and fill-ups, from our lower thirds, from our 3D unfolding stuff, and we're actually using those tools to create something that helps tell a story and explain something. So on Canvas, it's not responding, but on Canvas, there is this document, okay? So this is the script that we're going to be using. Now I'm going to do I'm going to record a voiceover that we're going to use for this, and you'll be able to customize your video for what you're going to be doing. So the start of this is color theory is an important part of the design process. What we see and how we see it can be controlled by simply choosing the right colors. The color wheel is the foundation for building successful color schemes. The color wheel is composed of 3 primary colors. Mixing neighboring primary colors evenly creates what's referred to as secondary colors. Mixing a primary and a secondary creates tertiary colors. When choosing colors, the color wheel can be divided into warm and cool colors. Individual colors can be isolated to help convey a suggestive meaning. Okay, so everyone will be using this as the first part of their video. Then you're going to get into this area here where it talks about the individual meanings of specific colors. Okay, so I've picked out red, green, or red, yellow, and blue, black, and white. Okay, so there's 5 different colors here, and each one has a little blurb about their meaning. And you'll pick 2 of these that you'll animate to. Okay, so your video is going to have an explanation and graphics in the top area, and then you'll pick 2 of these at least that you want to do. Okay, like we talked about before, you can do the bare minimum, just the 2, or you can go beyond and do maybe a 3rd, a 4th, or a 5th and actually show all of these. So certain things like the color white promotes equality, purity, and cleanliness. White can also be used to amplify creativity and growth. The color black is mysterious and can be a symbol of secretive and unknowing. It can also signify rebellion or death. Okay, so you would pick 2 of those inside this big box that you would use in your animation. Then we're going to come down to the next part. Colors can be matched together to create more effective meaning effects. Readability. Choosing harmonious colors can be tricky, but luckily there are some tricks to doing so. And then you would pick 1 of these different ways that you can pick matching colors. So one of them is triadic color scheme. Selects 3 colors which are evenly spaced around the color wheel. Using complementary colors is one method for selecting a pair of matching, I'll fix that obviously, matching colors. These are color opposites, each color on the wheel. Okay, and then analogous colors. So you'll pick 1 of these that you'll also include in your video. Again, if you want to include more, then that's showing a greater level of understanding of the tools and obviously a better, more complete finished piece. And then we'll finish up by saying colors in a scheme can also be adjusted by adding white to the saturation. By adding white, comma, the saturation is decreased. By adding black, comma, the value can be decreased. This can take a color combination that is too dull and make it more exciting, or it can make something look less silly and more professional. Okay, so that's going to be our script that we're going to use to animate objects to. All the stuff that's in here, your planning stage, is to print this out or just look at it and start making notes about different graphics you want to use for these specific areas. So right here where it says the color wheel is the foundation for building successful color schemes, what kind of graphic do you think is appropriate to have there? A color wheel, right? We should have a color wheel, so visually we can see a color wheel. We hear the word color wheel, we can connect those 2 things together. The color wheel is composed of 3 primary colors, so then we want to do some sort of call out showing the primary colors. Mixing neighboring primary colors evenly creates what's referred to as secondary colors. So then we want to create an animation of what the secondary colors would look like when they get combined, or when they are created. And then the tertiary colors also. When choosing colors, the color wheel can be divided into warm and cool colors. So again, we want to show that. And that individual colors can be isolated to help convey a suggestive meaning. And then for each one of these, we not only want to show the color black or white or red or yellow, but we also want to give some examples. So when we talk about things like rebellion or death, maybe we should have a graphic image that shows like the Grim Reaper, or it shows a rebellious flag, or it shows something inside there that helps us kind of visually link what's going on. Okay? So for all of this, you have to plan out what kind of graphics you want to have. So you don't have to do anything crazy with it. All you have to do is just kind of sketch up, here's where this paragraph is, here's the graphic and the look that I want for this specific area. When we look at some of these other ones, you may not be comfortable or familiar with talking about or creating graphics for color theory. So go to YouTube and look at some of the videos out there. There's a lot of really cool videos that people have created that discuss it.
Colors created. Color theory is an examination of the relationship of colors and their interactions. Primary colors. Red, yellow, and blue are the foundation of the color wheel. The primary colors are the purest colors on the chart and are not made from mixing colors. Secondary colors. Green, orange, and violet are created by mixing two primary colors. Tertiary colors. Created by mixing two colors, one primary and one secondary. How can we create harmonious color schemes from the color wheel? The relationship between colors are represented on a color wheel where harmonious combinations are found. These combinations are called color schemes and use any of the following on the color wheel. Complementary. Two colors opposite from each other. Triadic. Three colors equally spaced forming a triangle. Square. Two pairs of colors opposite from each other forming a rectangle. What are three controlling variables of color creation? Hue, the color. Saturation, the intensity of a color and how much it differs from white. Value, the relative lightness or darkness of a color. Through understanding these basic principles of color theory, finding and applying the right colors for your projects can become a little easier.
Alright, so that was his. Now here's another one. This one's 5 minutes, so I can watch the whole thing, but just so you get an idea of how they're doing this one.
This is how to paint a color wheel from scratch. All you need to start are the three primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. All other colors can be created mixing these in different ways. Note that mixing all three hue, high saturation.
Okay, so you can see the kind of graphics and the kind of storytelling that they're doing for something like this. There's a whole bunch of them on here. That's graphic design, it's not color theory. And there was a really good video on really good video on Vimeo that had this one, a brief lesson on color theory. And this one, there's no audio. It's all done just by, or there's no voiceover. It's all done by just the graphics and the text. She actually had this on Ria Lalina. There we go. It was also on YouTube. YouTube, for whatever reason, plays easier than Vimeo. So that gives you some understanding of just baseline, just some color theory stuff, right? So you get an idea of different graphics, different ways we can tell essentially the same story. And obviously, they had more information than we're including in ours in some spots, right? Like they had the split complementary, they had the triadic. We're not going to show all of those things, okay? This PDF, we could have a whole bunch of stuff. I could have gone through the color meaning of every single one of the different colors that are out there. There's actually pages and pages and pages of meanings of color. And there was a really neat resource that I found where they actually show you like white in some countries means cleanliness and purity. In other countries, it means the complete opposite. It means that it's like not dirty, but I don't know. Can't think of the word. Yeah. Cultural. So again, you could also go into like if this was a bigger project and we really wanted to show all of these different things, what they would mean to other areas. So here's the cultural meaning of red. You can see here it can mean energy, excitement, action, but it also means danger. It also means anger. It also means love.
It also means Valentine's Day?
It also does mean Valentine's Day. And Christmas when combined with green or Freddy Krueger. Yeah, so here's happiness, used as a wedding color in China. So in America, white is a wedding color. In China, it's red, right? So depending on where this video is actually made for, obviously that could be a different thing. If this was a company and their job was to show this kind of stuff, you may have several videos all showing different things. Like in America, red means this. In India, it means this. In Thailand, it means this. The color of Sunday. Okay? So get yourself comfortable with understanding, number one, what the script means. If you're not sure what complementary means or any of this stuff, make sure you understand it, because you can't explain it if you don't understand what that is. And then the next step is to go through and just start sketching out ideas for what you want all of your stuff to look like. This is obviously going to be a bigger project than we worked on so far, because this is going to be something where we need to convey the text that's here in some sort of imagery, okay? I don't want to use anything that is copywritten. So what I don't want to do is when we talk down here and we're talking about taking a color combination that's too dull and making it more exciting, or something that looks less silly, making it more professional, you can use logos, but don't use like actual logos. Like don't use, like McDonald's picks red and yellow because they want red for the hungry and yellow for the vibrantness of the color. So I don't want you using McDonald's, but you could use something that looks like it, but not actually be McDonald's, right? So you can use like a W or something and have the same kind of colors. So people would think it's McDonald's, but not really see it's McDonald's, okay? So you can do stuff like that. And that goes for any of these kinds of things. Don't use anything that is already existing out there. Create your own stuff. Now here's where in After Effects we're going to be getting a little bit more specific, because obviously our colors have to be lined up correctly, because if our colors aren't lined up correctly, it's not going to work. And also our workflow is going to be a lot bigger. If you look at what we saw in especially that second video, there was a lot of stuff going on in order for us to get the idea of all the different colors. There was a lot of color shifts, a lot of movement, a lot of animation going on. So we'll be using more and more advanced things that allow us to tweak certain things a bit easier. So here's just a simple test animation that I did of having all of these things kind of pop out. There we go. Now if we rewind it and play it in real speed, there we go. Okay. So any guesses as to how I created that? Trim? Yep. So that's all it is, right? It's a circle. I trimmed it so I only got a portion of the circle. And then using just the stroke, that's all I needed. Okay? And then just changing the color of it. Now what I don't want to have to do is if I changed the size of any of these strokes, I didn't want to have to go into each one of these containers and grab the stroke and set keyframes on it. And then if I want to see where are the keyframes for this one and where are the keyframes for that one, you know, they're, right there. I'd have to hit the keyframe there to see it. So what I did was I created my own little slider, my own little controller up here that allows me to tweak any of those. So if I get to this point and I want the red, click off, there we go, the red to be huge, I can set a keyframe on the red here, go up a little bit, and then crank the red. And that way I'm kind of emphasizing just the red, okay? All from this one controller. So this will be another area that we'll start to play with where we're taking things and actually making controllers for them to make our jobs easier, okay? How did I?
Yeah.
I gotta save that. I don't want to spoil it now. Okay, so we'll be doing this kind of thing too. Now also in the second one that we watched, there was a lot of 3D stuff going on. So far all we've used 3D for is to do those little rotation things, the unfolding. But you can actually use 3D to go from spot to spot to spot and actually create like a 3D world inside of your After Effects. Sure target. So there's a plugin called Sure Target, and you've probably seen this kind of thing before, like a whole bunch of times. Go away. But what Sure Target does is imagine you have a 3D world, okay? And so your unfolding video is right here. But then further back in your 3D world, you have something else going on. Then further back in your 3D world, you have something else going on. What Sure Target allows you to do is jump your camera to each one of these spots so you can see it. So that's what we're going to see is a 3D world where we're just jumping from comp to comp. All right, so what this is, imagine just like a 3D world, okay? Something like this. Here's a comp, here's a comp, here's a comp, here's a comp, here's a comp. Our camera just zips up to that one comp and then zips over here and then zips over there and then zips back here. That's what we're seeing in that. So that's exactly what the girl did, Rhea did in that one video, the second video we watched, okay? So there's lots of different ways to show this kind of thing. And this is actually a free plugin you could use. Sure Target. I haven't mentioned this before, I don't think, at least in this class, but there's a website called Video Copilot. The guy who created it, his name is Andrew Kramer. He's some punk kid. He was 16 years old when he first got into After Effects. He graduated high school, and he just started making tutorial videos for After Effects on...
What's up, Andrew?
On a website called Creative Cow. If you ever search for anything Photoshop or After Effects, usually it takes you to Creative Cow. So he started doing videos there, and then he got so good at them, he made his own website called Video Copilot, where he makes a bunch of tutorials. Like, I think they're at over 129 different tutorials that he has on here. And if you hover your mouse over it, you can see how he has these different things. So there's a little title sequence right there, using a blueprint reveal. Here's a realistic gun blowback. Here's disintegration. Okay? And these are all using After Effects as its main tool. He does dip into stuff like Cinema and 3D Studio Max and some other programs too, but his main thing is After Effects tutorials that he does. Okay? So these are all free. You can download all these videos. You can watch the videos and get really cool tutorials. You can also get the behind the scenes on some of these. So you can actually see, like for this thing, what did he videotape? How did he videotape it? How was that whole process set up? How was this set up? Okay, lots of different things there. Now, this plugin is free. So you can just download the plugin, you can install it and use it. Where he makes his money is off all the other stuff that he creates. Okay? So the tutorials, the Sure Target, that's like freebies to get you in the door. And then once you're here, he has stuff like Element. Okay, and Element is a 3D plugin for After Effects. Before Cinema 4D was allowed to go right into After Effects, Element was available, and it's actually a little bit more simple design because you can't do as much stuff in it. All right, but you can actually have 3D in After Effects. He also has optical flare plugins.
Did he make the program?
He pays someone, I'm sure, to write them, and then he sells them.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's a bunch of just optical flares.
He sells stuff to Hollywood and probably.
Mm-hmm. He's worked on stuff too. If you've seen I think it was the Fringe opening. He did the Fringe opening. Yeah. It was a good show until the last 2 seasons.
Is that always the way it's done?
It is.
It starts out good.
And then he has this one too, which is a Twitch plugin. You kind of saw that in the other one. So you can see how the colors are kind of mixing up. That's Twitch. That. Now, none of the stuff that he's doing with this kind of thing is anything you couldn't do on your own. He just makes it easier. Very much like I have my little controller here that has little sliders. His stuff just automatically creates sliders for what you're going to be tweaking. Okay. They also have shaders for their 3D thing for Element. They have Jet Strike, Metropolitan. These are all buildings. So the idea with Element is that it's a 3D plugin, but then there's all this 3D geometry that you could just drop into it. So if you wanted a building, you don't have to build a building in 3D. You could just grab one from the pack, and then there it is. So he makes his money off of doing this kind of stuff, which is still awesome stuff. He also has stock visual effects. So if you wanted to create things like explosions or whatever and add those to your After Effects stuff, here's smoke, here's fire, here's little sparks and ash. These are just videos that you would just drop into your stuff. So you just drop it on top of it. And you'd be surprised, like when they made like Star Wars Episode 3, and they had the big fight scene in the lava area. So when they did that, what they did was they went out to, I believe it was Hawaii. There was a volcano that was active, and they went there at night and they videotaped the volcano exploding. And then they took the video and they put it like all over that scene. So if you watch the behind the scenes, you'll see this one explosion, this one geyser of volcanic lava just pouring out. And they used it like 7 times in the background. So if you watch it, you can see this same explosion like 7 times in the background.
Just like green screen of it?
Well, because they shot it at night, it's black. So it's just like there is the green screen.
Okay.
Yeah. So you get all this stuff too if you buy that. So that's where he makes his money. So all of his tutorials, like I said, are pretty sweet. And he's got stuff that just is amazing things that are inside here. So here's 3D text.
Andrew Kramer here, videocode.net, and welcome back.
So he's showing in here how you can take a 3D object, an element, and drop it onto a video and make it look like that 3D element is actually in the video.
Around with these techniques, and thank you guys for watching. I'm Andrew.
Okay, so he's got a lot of really cool stuff. There's also, if you're just interested in just watching things, this is Freddie Wong, I think it's his name. He's got a bunch of really cool videos that he does. Basically, these are just like After Effects. And it's basically just like him videotaping himself or his friends and then dropping those into After Effects and then doing all these really cool animations. So this one was real life Mario Kart. So once we're done with our advertisement here, I think the college just pay for this, right? So we don't have to do that. I know. Well, it's double because it's going to go in my YouTube video too, so. Yeah, commercial and a commercial.
Starting at just $89 per adult per night.
Yeah. So his is cool too because he has behind the scenes, he has the next video and some other stuff going on. And this is where he started off, just making videos for YouTube. And he's actually created or gotten to the point where he's actually like doing videos with Key and Peele. I'm not sure if the audio is appropriate on this one. We'll play it until we hear a swear word. So there's lots of those out there. They've been around for like years. 7 million people. And one of the cool things is that because they go into the behind the scenes of how they do it, some of the stuff is like really ingenious. There was one where they do like a video game, like you're in a video game scenario, and they videotape here, then they videotape here, then they videotape there, and then using 3D cameras, they just patch these 3 videos together. And then you can use your camera to move between any of those 3 videos, which is a pretty awesome way to attack that problem. Okay? Cool. So, for next week, try to get that planning done, okay? So that you know when we get to our... I think I closed it. I didn't close it. Look at that. Get your planning done, your drawings done of what you want to be showing in each of these. It makes your life a lot easier if you have, here's what I want to show, I just have to make it. Right? As opposed to, what should I do now? What should I do now? And then trying to go back and then change stuff that you realize doesn't look as good as the end stuff. Okay? Cool. Any questions? Nope. All right.